If you felt lonely or unusually drained lately, the reason is not what you think. This week, something rare is happening. Not the kind of rare that knocks you down, the kind that leaves you standing alone and stronger than you've ever been. You're standing in a threshold moment, and the sky is about to tell you why. On July 17th, two outer planets, Uranus and Pluto, form an exact trine. That's a slow-moving harmony between the planet of sudden change and the planet of deep transformation. It doesn't happen often, and when it does, most people don't consciously notice the sky. They just feel like something shifted underneath them. At the same time, the sun is still holding its place in Cancer. We're in the very last stretch of Cancer season, while the moon is completing its move out of confident, spotlight-craving Leo and into careful, detail-obsessed Virgo. Sun in Cancer, moon leaving Leo for Virgo, Uranus and Pluto quietly shaking hands in the background. If you're a sensitive soul, someone who feels the room change before anyone says a word, someone who's always been told they're too much or too deep, this video is for you. Stay with me, hit like and subscribe the channel. There are 7 signs this is already working on you, and I promise you, by the end, you'll know exactly which one is yours. Let's slow down and actually look at what's overhead, because the meaning is in the structure, not the mystery. But before we get technical, I want to name something first. If you've been feeling lonely lately, even in a room full of people, even in a relationship, even surrounded by your own family, that loneliness is not a flaw in you. It's not proof that something is wrong with how you love or how you connect. It's information. And this week, the sky is finally explaining what it's been trying to tell you. Think of Cancer season as the final coat of paint on a room you've been quietly renovating since June. Cancer doesn't build loudly. Cancer builds low, close to the ground. Memory, home, the people you let see you unguarded. For weeks now, the sun in Cancer has been asking you one quiet question underneath everything else. What do I actually need to feel safe? That question is exhausting to sit with, and if you felt drained without an obvious reason, no late nights, no big crisis, just a bone-deep tiredness, this is why. You've been doing invisible work, the work of noticing which relationships actually hold you and which ones just take up space. Nobody claps for that kind of labor, but your body knows you've been doing it. Now we're at the last few days of that question being asked directly by the sky, which is exactly why it feels urgent, not because something is ending badly, but because the window to answer honestly is closing, and some part of you already senses that. Meanwhile, the moon just spent 2.5 days in Leo, and Leo doesn't like to sit quietly. Leo wants to be seen, wants to matter, wants proof that it counted. If you felt a flare of, does anyone actually notice what I do in the last couple of days? That wasn't vanity. That was a real human ache to matter to someone, turned up in volume by the sky. But right now, the moon is crossing into Virgo, and Virgo is the inspector. Virgo walks into the room Leo just performed in and starts checking the wiring. Was that reaction proportionate? Is this relationship pulling its weight? Is this job actually structurally sound, or is it held up with duct tape and hope? This is where loneliness sharpens into clarity, not because you're becoming cold, but because you're finally allowed to ask who's actually showing up for you without guilt. And underneath both of those, Uranus and Pluto trining. Uranus is the wiring itself. It doesn't ask permission, it just flips the switch. Pluto is the foundation inspector who's been down in your basement for years, quietly noting which support beams are rotted. When these two link up in an easy aspect instead of a tense one, change doesn't have to come as a collapse. It can come as a door quietly opening that you didn't know was there. And for once, you don't have to walk through it alone. You just have to notice it's unlocked. Sun in Cancer asking what safety really means to you, Moon leaving performance for scrutiny, Uranus and Pluto agreeing for one window that the renovation can happen without the whole house coming down. Underneath all of it, one simple human truth. The tiredness and the loneliness were never a sign you were failing, they were a sign you were paying attention to something real. That's the architecture of this moment. Here are 7 signs. You don't need all 7. Even 2 or 3 landing is enough to know the sky found you. And if you're being honest with yourself, you probably already know which ones are yours before I even say them out loud. Sign 1. Sudden fatigue with no clear cause. Not sadness exactly, just heaviness. The kind that makes getting out of bed feel like moving through water, like your body already started the renovation before your mind agreed to it. You might catch yourself staring at nothing, exhausted by conversations that used to feel easy. This is Cancer's undertow, a pull back toward rest, toward the version of you that doesn't perform for anyone. Let it pull. This tiredness isn't weakness, it's your body finally being honest about how much you've been carrying. Sign 2, an old memory resurfacing out of nowhere, a conversation from years ago, a person you haven't thought about in a long time, suddenly vivid, suddenly loud in your mind. Maybe it's someone who hurt you, maybe it's someone you hurt. This is the Moon leaving Leo's spotlight and Virgo starting its inspection, pulling old files out of the drawer to check if they're still relevant or if they can finally, mercifully, be closed for good. Sign 3, irritability toward people who want your attention. If you felt strangely short-tempered with people asking things of you, snapping at a text, dreading a phone call from someone you usually love hearing from, that's not you becoming a worse person. That's Leo's afterglow, meeting Virgo's need to conserve energy for what actually matters. You're not being unkind, you're triaging, you're finally protecting something instead of giving it away by default. Sign 4, a flash of clarity about a relationship or job you've been avoiding looking at directly. This is the Uranus-Pluto trine, and it can feel almost frightening in its suddenness, like a light flicking on in a room you'd gotten used to living in half dark. It doesn't force the realization violently, it just flips the switch, and suddenly you can see the whole room. Every corner you'd trained yourself not to look at, every compromise you'd stopped noticing you were making. Sign 5. The urge to clean, declutter, or fix something small and physical. Your hands want to do what your mind is doing internally. There's something almost desperate about it. Throwing out old clothes, scrubbing a counter that was already clean, needing 1 square foot of your life to feel controlled and cared for. Virgo Moon loves a small, tangible task as a stand-in for the larger repair underneath. Don't fight the urge. Follow it. Sign 6, dreams about houses, especially rooms you didn't know were there or rooms that need repair. This is about as literal as the sky gets, and it can be startling when it happens. A new room, a leak in the ceiling, a staircase you've never noticed leading somewhere unfamiliar. Your subconscious is drafting the floor plan of what's changing, showing you the parts of yourself that are being renovated before you're consciously ready to look at them. Sign 7, a strange, quiet calm at a moment you'd expect to feel anxious. This is the trine itself, and honestly, this is the sign people trust the least because we've been taught that peace has to be earned through struggle first. But Uranus and Pluto working together instead of against each other means that even real, deep change can land softly. If you felt an unexpected steadiness this week in the middle of something that should feel scary, that's not you being in denial. That's not you avoiding the pain. That's the aspect doing exactly what it's built to do, proving that you can hold change without breaking. Which one hit? Really sit with that for a second before we go further. Not the intellectual answer, the one your chest already knows. Let's put this in plain language, no jargon. Imagine your life is a house you built a long time ago, mostly without a blueprint. You built the load-bearing walls out of whatever kept you safe at the time. A role you played in your family, a way of being agreeable, a habit of shrinking so you wouldn't be too much. Those walls held. They did their job. But load-bearing walls built out of fear tend to also block the light. Cancer season has spent the last month walking through that house room by room, running a hand along those walls, asking quietly, is this one still holding up something real, or is it just habit now? The moon leaving Leo is the moment the performance stops, the moment you're not on stage for anyone, not even yourself. And Virgo steps in with a clipboard, checking the actual structural integrity underneath the performance. And then Uranus and Pluto trining are the renovation crew finally getting clearance to start work. Not a demolition, not a flood in the basement, just permission. Permission for the wall that's been in the way to come down without the roof caving in. This is not a final warning. It's not that you have to fix everything by midnight on the 17th or lose your chance. It's that the sky has, for a few days, made the work easier than usual. The door that's usually stuck is, for once, unlocked. If you felt that quiet sense that something wants to change, and for once it doesn't feel dangerous, that's exactly what this is. Trust it. You don't need candles, crystals, or a full moon circle for this one. Cancer season doesn't want a performance. It wants something real and small. Here's what to do, tonight if you can. Minute 1 through 3. Silence. No phone. Just sit somewhere you feel safe and ask yourself honestly, what wall have I been holding up out of fear instead of need? Don't answer fast. Let it sit. Minute 4 through 6, write it down in plain language. Not a vision board, not affirmations, just one honest sentence about what you're ready to let a little more light into. Something like, I'm ready to stop shrinking to keep the peace, or I'm ready to let this friendship be honest instead of easy. Minute 7 through 9, do one small physical act of care. Run warm water over your hands. Tidy one corner of one room, just one. Cook something that takes a little effort, even if it's just for you. This tells your nervous system the renovation is safe, not scary. Minute 10, visualize briefly the version of your life with that wall gone. Not the whole future, just the room. What does it look like with more light in it? Hold that image for 30 seconds before you go to sleep. That's it. That's the whole ritual. Small, grounded, done. Before we close out, comment of the day. Someone last week wrote, I read the fatigue sign and started crying before I even got to the ritual part. I didn't know I was allowed to be tired. That's exactly it. You're not falling behind. You're finally allowed to put something down. So tell me, which sign hit closest for you? Was it the fatigue pulling you under, the sudden clarity flipping the light switch, or the strange calm you didn't expect? Drop just one word in the comments: fatigue, clarity, or calm. I read every single one. And next week's video picks up exactly where this one leaves off, because this isn't the end of the story. Cancer season closes, Leo season opens, and the next chapter is about what we build once the walls come down. If this found you at the right moment, you know what to do. Subscribe so you don't miss the next door opening. I'll see you on the other side of it.